Hello, everyone. Welcome to today's funding platform demo. My name is Claire McGovern, and I'm the lead here for the funding platform at Devex. I'm based in Barcelona. And today, I'm really looking forward to getting into how and why organizations use Devex to advance their funding strategy. I'm looking forward to getting into some particular use cases to show you how you can use the funding search and analysis, such as our recent analysis of the AFDB contract awards, as well as the PEPFAR annual country operational plans, to really better position yourself and your organization for proposal success while you're pursuing funding. And throughout, I really hope to hear from you, so please do submit your questions. And at the end, I hope to get to them. I believe you can all hear me, so good to go. I'm going to jump right in. Firstly, how and why do organizations use Devex? To get in at the right time. I hear the same thing repeated time and again, that organizations miss out on opportunities by not finding out about them as early as they'd like. Many often wait for the publication of the tender, the grant notice, or the open opportunity to act on the opportunity. And when I say act, I mean start writing the proposal or reach out to a potential partner or involve the right experts on that proposal. But of course, timelines can be tight, teams can be small, and many other organizations hear about opportunities pre-tender or RFP stage. And I guess what we've learned is that the fact is there is a ton of information circulating about future funding opportunities before the tender stage. Some donors obviously release forecast announcements, such as USAID, the World Bank, IFID, and others. And there are also press releases that announce new partnerships and loan approvals or new funding instruments. And then along with that, you have a kind of information exchange between people who are connected to different projects, hear about timelines ending and maybe starting up again. And so understanding what's happening is quite a complex kind of activity. And we've really put a lot of effort into trying to gather this information and aggregate it in one space alongside the tenders, grants, and open opportunities. So members use Devex to access this early information in one place, and we also spend time analyzing it to try and present it in as easy and an easy kind of intuitive way to read and understand. Often the early information is amongst a lot of, rows in an Excel sheet or buried in a PDF. And so we've developed ways of extracting this information efficiently and then presenting it in visualizations, data visualizations that you can interact with based on your sector and country of interest. So next point, as I said, many organizations spend a lot of time sourcing the right partners for their projects. And so we've developed a contract awards database where people can search based on keyword, country, sector, funder to identify the right potential partner for them. Obviously, this is critical when you're trying to diversify funding streams as you approach a new donor or funder you've never worked with, or if you're looking to expand into a region. And so they use that database really to identify those they should be partnering or connecting with in order to source funding from a new funder. We also analyze contract awards going back 5, 8 years and even longer to identify key changes to the program focus or trends regarding sector, so that you can, or members can delve into this from time to time to really understand if there's a potential alignment between them and their funder strategy or where that strategy is going, and in order to inform their own strategy. So of course, accessing current funding opportunities is very important. And given we track 720 or so program, tender, grant, and open opportunities, we're uploading hundreds each day. It's a place that all our members come to in order to receive the latest opportunities in a given sector or region. And underneath that, I've mentioned know your space, so members know their space. And that is kind of in line with the tenders and grants. Obviously, the first step to winning funding is knowing what's happening right now. So what active opportunities are out there? You may be too late to actually write a proposal for an active tender with a deadline next week, but you still need to know about it because it portrays and reflects what the funder is interested in. And so you can figure out if there's potential alignment, if you're likely to succeed should you pursue funding under that funder. Of course, save time. As I said, we analyze over 720 tender grants open opportunity sources, but also 600,000 additional sources that include information regarding funding. So from media sources to donor sites to event sites and local media outlets that may announce a subcontract. We have built a system to track all that, so you don't have to, and you can just receive one alert, email alert each day, letting you know of the latest on a given partnership or region in terms of health, for example. And so you don't have to spend your time, number one, going to many different websites, and number two, poring over a PDF to extract where that, I don't know, for example, DevCo action sheet lies that you're interested in. Yeah, that's our aim, really, to analyze things, ensure that you can work more effectively based on that and do your work better. So in addition to our analysts, we also have journalists located across the world. And when we decide we want to delve into a given kind of funder or a strategy, we connect with them and see if they can involve a procurement expert in a webinar, for example, or maybe in an article whereby we're delving into the past award data to kind of understand their strategy moving forward. So by connecting that news and funding analysis and all the data that's out there, we hope to give you as full a picture as possible. Okay, so I think a great way of bringing the whole funding platform to life is to dip into some particular use cases. I speak to a lot of different organizations, from really small, unique kind of value that have small, unique value propositions to those that have been established in the space and are continuing to expand. And so I decided to kind of choose two examples and delve into it from there. So the first one here is a medium-sized NGO based in Uganda that provides training to medical professionals and is particularly focused on providing training under the umbrella of HIV/AIDS preventative measures. This NGO has previously received funding from Devex, but it's decreasing. So they really need to begin to diversify and source other funding streams. Okay, firstly, I'm going to share my screen and we can jump into the website from there. Okay, you should be able to see it now. I have clicked on the funding tab and I've gone to the funding search. So here you can access 4 different databases. That includes the tenders and grants, programs, and then that funding activity, which is the early information I mentioned that we aggregate. Over here to the right, you have the contract awards. And so people use it by searching based on keyword, based on topic, based on particular funder. As you can see, we have all these different categories that you can filter by to really define your search and ensure that you're receiving the opportunities that are relevant to you. And then, of course, region. So firstly, in this case, as this particular NGO, I'm going to begin by just typing in HIV as the keyword. And then given I'm based in Uganda, maybe I'll just start that way and visualize my results, which will be based on, I think, tenders, grants, and programs, because I want to get to know my space, as I mentioned. So here I'm going to look at the tenders and grants programs updated at all time, but these are going to be the open and forecasted opportunities. So I'm going to visualize my results to see the top 10 funders based on the open active opportunities here. Okay. World Bank, Devex, UN, USAID, not unsurprising really to see the top 10 there, but it's a good way to start. And then here we can see, based on the countries that are within the results, the top 10. You can see the number of opportunities there. So I see Uganda's the third amongst other countries in Sub-Saharan Africa, and you can see some of the key funders or the keywords that are coming up. So now I want to get a little more specific, I think, and I'm going to filter based on Eastern Africa, maybe Central as well. I'm flexible. Obviously, if I've worked in Uganda, you could start just based on Uganda, but I'm going to kind of start broad and then get more into detail. And so you can see the difference between the programs here and the tenders, and filter through there. Again, you can see the top 10 funders that are coming in. And go through it that way. What I might do then is to see, let's see, I'm going to actually get a little specific now because there are obviously a lot of opportunities out there. So start with those opportunities based on your unique experience. Oops. And here we can see the programs. So these are the broader programs under which tenders are released. And you can click in to get the full detail and scroll down to see all of those that may be relevant. And then what I would probably do is jump to the early information. So if you've identified, okay, the UN, pretty active, but you know what, all these opportunities are early. I've spotted some USAID ones. There's obviously a ton of funding going through the PEPFAR program to this topic. And maybe I want to hear about opportunities earlier so that I can prepare and be in with a chance, given timelines are long when you're trying to succeed on certain funding. So I'm going to filter this by publication date, and here I see the earlier information. So from USAID, okay, to deliver it, this is from the business forecast data. So this will be the latest for Q3, actually. We just updated our visualization, which I'll show you later on. And so you can identify potential opportunities. And in this case, should I see something relevant from USAID or from a different funder, I would probably then go to the contract awards to see who has worked with them before on this topic. So very simply, just deselect one database to go to the other to see the awardees. And from there, it's about connecting with the right person within that organization. If you think you would like to partner, given this NGO is offering a service, it's likely that they may not be the prime contractor on, for example, a USAID program, but will be more likely to be a subcontractor to start with anyway. And so I would reach out to the key funder representatives and representatives within those prime organizations to mention that you've seen this forecasted information. You present yourself as being informed and present your experience to then move the conversation forward when it's getting closer to the tender stage. I know I mentioned PEPFAR, and in the email I also said that I'd show you how I would use that particular analysis for this purpose. So I'm going to go and open up that article itself. And all of the analysis are hosted on this page, the funding overview page. And you can see here, okay, we've got a host of different ones. There is the dissecting PEPFAR country operational plans one. I'm going to open this. Well, I don't want to get into detail on PEPFAR itself. I'm no expert. I know quite a bit just from reading on Devex and listening to the webinar we hosted just last week on it. We do know I'll mention that it's the U.S. President's Emergency Plan for AIDS Relief, and it's one of the largest and most impactful initiatives undertaken in the fight against global HIV. Obviously, for this NGO, given that it's allocating 3.9 billion across 50 countries, or has allocated that since the start of 2019, it's one to know about. So each year, it releases about funding, about that amount, 3.9 billion. There's been discussion of it being slashed, which we've also covered in the news. But this analysis really gets into how the funding has been dispersed by region and by topic, or particular, aspect of the whole kind of system. And we aggregated, I think we worked with AMFAR, an organization who was particularly focused on this topic, to source the data from 100,000 PDFs, a lot of fun, so troves and troves of data. And we analyzed this to present it here. Obviously, I make it sound easy, but there was a lot of aggregating, cleaning, discrepancies in the data to really, in the end, produce something that's practical, usable for members, that they don't have to waste time doing that. So here you have the data from the country operational plans, which is what the PEPFAR releases each year, outlining the priorities, who they're releasing the funding to, for what, where. And so if, as this NGO, I want to know who I should be talking to and what kind of, what aspects of HIV they kind of fund and how they segment it, this is a really great place to start. So you can see here, you could filter by particular implementing partner. I think I would start by just leaving it general and hovering over each of the countries to get my head around how much funding is going per country. And then over here, you can see the area, so of the HIV/AIDS program and the different aspects. So from care, obviously that could be relevant, to treatment, management, and operation, and you could filter by that. Then up here, you can see the strategic direction based on the different kind of area of the programming. So from governance and systems to prevention, I guess that would be something I'd be interested in. So I'm just going to filter based on that. And you can see that obviously the amount of allocated funding is going up. I can then go over here and click on Uganda to start with, and quickly identify the organization. So you can see a positive, that fact that a local organization, this university, is the top. It looks like local entities are succeeding in sourcing funding, which from this NGO's point of view would be positive. So you can get a great idea quickly of who's working on the project in your country. You can then see which areas are being funded, prevention, and maybe I just want to get even more specific to see who exactly is on the biomedical prevention of mother-to-child transmission. I'm interested in that. So here, within 10 minutes, you can quickly identify who you should be connecting with. And I guess as this NGO, I might want to also look at what's happening in adjacent countries and get a top 10 of organizations, local as well as international, and connect with all of them to figure out their strategy from there. In this case, I might go back then to the funding search to get some more detail on the contract awards, say from, let's see if we can get what FHI last time has worked on in this topic. So we have the contract awards here, and you could get more description of, you can see it was awarded to FHI 360, one of the big implementing partners there, and the Uganda Health Marketing Group, and you get a description here. So when you kind of approach these funders, you are more informed, you know more about what they've done, and you know the strategic direction of the PEPFAR program, so you can really progress that conversation faster. I think that's all the detail I'm going to go into on PEPFAR for now, because I want to focus on how many people can use the funding search, and also get down to AFCD as well. And I know we only have a half an hour. So so just to jump back to the second use case, that was a private sector organization offering infrastructure to improve the climate resilience of agriculture practices. This organization has experience on one World Bank agricultural project, and I'm going to say it was in Ghana, for example. Okay, so I'm going to now share my screen again and jump in. Clear all the search results. Okay, I will start the same way as I started before and probably type in a keyword, agriculture, and I might even say and climate, keep it simple, and look at the tenders and grants. Private sector organization, relatively small. I would probably base it on the region, let's say West Africa. Okay, so again, we're looking at the programs on tenders and grants, active opportunities. And you're scrolling through, and there's quite a lot going on. Again, just like PEPFAR is a major program, you know that AFDB is an organization that's funding a ton of related projects in your area. So you can see the open programs there. I think I would then do the same and jump to this analysis of the contract award data. So we recently published this about a month ago alongside an analysis of the top 20 this year. And I have to say this article is excellent in offering an overview of where AFDB is kind of at with the different contractors, local contractors versus the top contractors coming from China, coming from other regions, the trend, how it's changing according to sector. It really does offer an excellent oversight if you're trying to get your head around where AFDB is at, where it's going. And then alongside that, Lisa, who is the data journalist that works on this, spent time uploading contract award data from since 2000 all the way up to 2018. So this is really a go-to should you want to get involved with AFDB. And to start, you can see all the different kind of ways that you can access the data. I would go, based on this organization's priorities, I think I would go to insight by sector. So basically what Lisa did was, it's not basic. I guess I'm trying to simplify the process, but she's quite experienced analyzing data, and so does this really effectively and efficiently, and uses that Excel data, processes it, and then analyzes it and puts it into this Tableau format so people can interact with it based on their interest very easily. So as you can see, insights by sector. I'm interested in agriculture, so I'm going to click here. And then if I go down here, I can see the geographic footprint. I can see the number of contracts. This is just in 2018. Remember, if you wanted to do some research and go back a few more years, you could do so. You can see the total value of the contract and the share of the AFDB contract for that particular year. So then if I go down here, I can see the top 10, or actually I could go down through all the contractors if I wanted to see exactly who's won what and how much. And again, I can see the detail of the contract here. So based on agriculture, you can see who's been working under agriculture, where, and then you can even click into particular countries from this to see who you should be reaching out to. So I clicked on the DRC, for example, and you can see these organizations here, and you can even see the project name, the contract value, and some details. Just scrolling along here, you could then go to country of origin insight. So I had said I have experience in Ghana. Maybe I want to click particularly specifically on Ghana from here. Okay, well, agriculture is receiving a lot of funding. You can see the number of contracts again in 2018 to get an idea of what's likely to come for 2019, the total share, the key contractors and programs, scroll through them to get details. Project insights. So again, you can get even deeper analysis, go by country here to see what has been funded. And then finally, you can go to contractor profiles. So maybe you've identified the top 5 and you want to really get more information. You think potentially the Foreign Economic Construction Group could be a good partner. You want to see the total value of the contracts, the number, where they've worked. You could filter by the region, contractor location or origin, and see the precise projects here. So it's like a workbook, and it allows you to get into the data in a way that's accessible, visually understandable, and efficient. That's the whole goal of it. So as this organization, I can get an idea of the key contractors that I need to partner with, or just understand how they've succeeded with AFDB before I start pursuing AFDB funding. And maybe I want to also understand how AFDB works, in which case I would go and access one of the articles we have on Devex describing how to source funding from AFDB and the procurement processes. We tend to offer those kind of practical articles as well as the really data-heavy analysis, so that to equip people with the right information as they pursue new funders. Getting back to the funding search, and in this case, I would probably then again search based on maybe funder, agriculture, to look at the early information so that I have more of a chance of getting in there. I would look at the country, Ghana. Okay, 20 days ago, and see these. That's in news. As you can see, we have a mix of information, given we track multitude of sources. This is a news of a new funding approval. So you have a ton of time to really get in on that and figure out who you should be connecting with and learn more about it. And then you can also see we have country strategy. So if you're in Ghana, you really want to know what their strategy is. Obviously, it's going from 2019 to 23. So it really does provide insights and things that you need to know in order to succeed on those kinds of projects. For both use cases, I would then set up an alert. So it's very easy. You type in your criteria, once you're happy with the search. I think I would set up 2, one on the early information. So you get like a news feed of early information on funding, and then one separately on open active tenders and grants and programs. You just click create, and it's quite easy. And then you can see your alerts here. You can also track reports. So you might receive that email alert with 10 opportunities, and there's one that you're really interested in, but you need to speak to your colleague about it. Maybe you track the report, and then you go back to it during your weekly meeting, have a quick look. Oh, yeah, I spotted this one. We need to talk about it. Will we pursue it? Will we not? We've also recently started experimenting with sharing tools. So you're the person that needs to do all the searching and research, but your colleague maybe leading a project at the moment needs to approve, say, go or no go on a project. You can share it by email so they can quickly access it. We've also developed or introduced a way to download results, taking into account that many organizations have a CRM system where they input their pipeline opportunities and manage them throughout the whole funnel pipeline from early stage to late stage. And so you can download results, and the goal is really to integrate with other systems and make it as user-friendly and effective, efficient as possible. So yes, the alerts I would set up. And then there are other ways as you're doing research, maybe you're diversifying funders again or looking at other regions. You can always filter based on entire categories and funder categories. So many people want to know more about what foundations are doing in the space, in which case you could just apply an overall filter, type in agriculture, and look at a particular region to see what foundations are funding, who's active in the space. we have increased the sources, the number of foundation sources and kind of private sector sources is about 200% in the last year or so, and continue to do so given it's such an emerging space to source funding from. There are a ton of other advanced filters and different ways, and it's all quite easy and user-friendly to use. And I would say organizations get into the data on this part and then assess like trends through the other page. So just to go back there and highlight what we've done recently, you can see amongst the articles there are those on Gates foundational funding. That's been quite popular because many people really want to know who they're funding where and how things are changing. There's a lot of funding being dispersed, so a lot to go to interesting projects. We also had a series on DFIs, which was excellent and focused on about 17 different DFIs and looked at where they were funding, how much they were funding, and the trends again there. So in addition to the kind of established funders, USAID, the World Bank, and so on DFID, we also look at the emerging sources. On DFID, we're actually hosting a webinar this Wednesday, and that's open to everyone. And we'll be delving into the disbursement data, which we analyzed, and also looking ahead at what may or may not happen, given the UK elections next week. And other things on the horizon include a webinar on EU funding and potentially on Gates and AFDB, amongst other things. But just to kind of finish up before I get to the Q&A, there's a host of that kind of analysis type of content so that you can delve into the data yourself and also get your head around how funders are working and what direction they're going in terms of their program focus. Then there's also the how-to articles, so how to, win contracts as an NGO from DFID, or lessons learned from the PEPFAR COP data, looking at innovative finance as well. We do extensive coverage on that. So I think I'm going to end it there and go back and see if there are any questions. Let's see. Where can we access the recording of the event? I will send that out afterwards. Oh no, someone couldn't see the actual information when I shared the screen. I will get back to you individually, Anna, thanks. Okay, how can you get market information early for USAID procurement? So the funding activity database hosts all of those business forecast entries that USAID releases, and we also add them to a visualization, which I'm going to show you quickly, which has just been updated in recent days, and we plan to publish an article summarizing the latest forecast information. And so this is how USAID releases its forecast information and how people kind of inform themselves before the tender stage. And there's usually 6-9 months between this at least and when the RSP is out, during which all organizations interested in sourcing the funding are coming together or figuring out who they should be partnering with, connecting with the funder representatives. I know there are kind of tender meetings. So gathering information to try and figure out how they can present their unique kind of selling points. And obviously USAID is very much focused now on the localization of their procurement. And so there is more space for smaller organizations or local organizations within countries in which they may not have had the chance to source funding from USAID before. So this information is really important and allows you to get in at the right time. And so I'm just going to the visualization that we always update. As you can see, we started in 2015 and we're still doing it regularly. And here you can filter again by a given topic to quickly see by country how much they forecasted. So in Q3, they forecasted one opportunity or activity overall worth 50 million in Ethiopia. DRC, 1 as well, 2 in Tanzania. And then if you were to scroll down here, you could see the actual award titles and you can see the implementing office, so you can figure out who you should be connecting with. And if I click on the amount, I'll be brought back to the funding search where you see the precise detail. And so you can go from there, figure out, I guess, what partners, what other organizations may contact an analyst should you have a question. So the team that is focused on aggregating all this data and publishing it as efficiently and as well as possible are available for questions. So often people are trying to figure out something, have connected with the funder, haven't received a response, and there's a long timeline in the project, it hasn't moved, and they just like to know, okay, when is this likely to happen? That kind of question. Feel free to connect with them, or if you just don't understand something about a particular detail within an opportunity. So that was the short version. Let me just run back, go back and see what other questions. So, I have a question from someone who's an entrepreneur in a small but growing tourism business in Namibia, and they want to know if they qualify for funds to grow their business directly via Devex, or is this more directed for larger cooperation? We have a mix of members, and organizations use Devex to identify the large opportunities early on, but many of them are subcontractors. So the small organization that wants to connect with the maybe larger organization within country to provide services on a given topic. And then also because we're covering foundations, grants, open opportunities, there are a ton of smaller opportunities out there. And we do track all those sources as extensively and as closely as we track the kind of more established funders that maybe as a small entrepreneur, you feel like you may not be ready to pursue them. So there certainly are opportunities. Obviously, there may be less niche opportunities depending on what you're interested in, but yes, definitely organizations do take advantage of it. Does one have to register their organization with Devex to get access to these resources? Yeah, so we have membership options, and I can share further details about those after. They offer access to the funding platform and all the content, and there are various options. What would you say the percentage of grant opportunities from corporate foundations is within the platform? That's a really good question. I don't have a percentage offhand, and it obviously varies hugely because from one week to the next, while we kind of, there's a stable number of opportunities published on average, but you have a higher influx at certain times of the year, or maybe more opportunities released in a certain month from certain funders. So it's always fluctuating the percentage. But I can ask our analysts afterwards and share a detailed response with you. As I said, we have expanded the sources of foundations, and we're sourcing more than ever and continue to expand on sources. Okay, I think with that, I'm going to leave it. Thank you so much for joining. And if you have a particular question that I didn't get to or that you think about after the call, definitely just send it on via email. I hope you found it useful, and I hope you have a really great day. Thanks a lot.